so many Smash content creators out there want to present themselves as these bastions of truth and knowledge that they are benevolent enough to be bestowing on you in their content. But in reality, the vast majority of content creators are just gluttons for attention who want their opinions to be heard and adopted by you. You should not give overly confident content creators your trust. You should not give them your attention if you feel they are unworthy of it. And you especially should not watch their video ranking every assist trophy in Smash Ultimate based on how accurate they are to their source material. Just quick disclaimer, accurate does not equal good assist trophy, inaccurate does not equal bad assist trophy. I just thought this would be a fun way to look at assist trophies through the specific critical lens of how accurate are they to their source material? How well do they represent the game they're coming from? And I'm going to try and go in series order here. We're going to start with the Hammer Brother. And the Hammer Brother, we're going to start out putting him in the C tier. The C tier is kind of what I consider, like, there are some weird inaccuracies here and there, but it still ultimately feels like the character. And when we're evaluating these assist trophies, we're really going to go off of two dimensions that I want to look at. What is the character literally doing, and is that something they do in their original game? And is the vibe of the character captured? Even if they are doing the correct stuff, do they feel like the character they're supposed to be representing? And the biggest problem I have with the Hammer Brother that I can't quite square is why doesn't it move horizontally? In Smash Brothers, the Hammer Brother spawns in and it jumps and it throws hammers. It can throw multiple at a time. That's all accurate, although sometimes the hammers will like bounce on the ground to extend their range. I don't really think that's from any mainline Mario game, but for whatever reason, they stay in their column. They don't like strafe around forward and back like they do in pretty much any Mario game. In the 2D games, they're pretty much always shuffling a little bit forward and back, which makes them way more dangerous. And in the 3D Mario games, they tend to actually not walk around, but they do jump around. They don't just jump in place, they jump from spot to spot. Now the Chain Chomp, I think we're moving up in the world a little bit. I'm gonna put Chain Chomp in the B tier. The B tier for me is mostly accurate to the character. There are some inaccuracies, but they are liberties that I think are reasonable to take for Smash Brothers. The Chain Chomp's behavior of kind of hopping around and always chomping at someone, even if they're not actually in biting distance, just going for the closest character, that is very in line with Chain Chomps, particularly in the 2D games. Where the Chain Chomp is held back is that in Ultimate, they made the interesting choice of not allowing you to free the Chain Chomp from its post. I believe Smash 4 let you do that, I'll double check that. But in every 2D Mario game that I can think of, I might be forgetting one, the Chain Chomp can be freed either, like in Mario 3, it'll just break its chain after a while and go off on its own, or in newer 2D Mario games, you can stomp its post, or in 64 you can do that. I'm not going to put it in C tier over that, because there definitely are some mainline Mario games, Odyssey comes to mind, where you can't stomp its post and it can't break from its chain freely. And hey, in fairness, this design actually is based on Odyssey, so that is fine. But the other relatively okay liberty they took is that if I were targeting accuracy, this is not an assist trophy that I would have made KOable, but not the worst thing in the world. Something that's important to mention that I didn't say up top is that there are some traits that a lot of assist trophies are given to just naturally fit into the Smash ecosystem well. For example, tons of assist trophies are given a double jump where they couldn't double jump in their original game. I'm not going to hold that against the assist trophy, just like how on the character roster, everyone can double jump, tons of those characters can't double jump in their source materials. The Thwomp. So the A tier on this tier list is for, like, when you look at the assist trophy, you're like, yep, that is the character, they are doing what they do, this is an accurate assist trophy. But the S tier, where the Thwomp is going, is even upon closer inspection, when I actually research the details, the assist trophy still nails it, and I think that's true with the Thwomp. What especially impresses me about the Thwomp is that they are capturing a specific iteration of the Thwomp accurately. A lot of assist trophies are kind of composite incarnations taking from a lot of different source material, but the Thwomp is, as far as I can tell, a very accurate New Super Mario Bros. Thwomp. There's a lot of Thwomp designs out there, but there's two main ones. The one that is spiky on the sides like this, and the one that is flat on the sides that allows you to do things like wall jump off of it, stand on top of it. The new Super Mario games use this spiky Thwomp, and what's unique about that Thwomp is that, unlike a lot of Mario games, this Thwomp, when you get close to it, it'll shake a little bit and then fall. That's exactly how it behaves in Smash. That's exactly how it behaves in the new Super Mario Bros. Games. And we're gonna round out our Mario category with someone not hitting the S tier. But Waluigi, doesn't Waluigi feel a little bit out of place with this cast of characters? I'm not like a huge Waluigi for Smash guy, but like, I don't think he belongs next to like Starfy and the Starman. Waluigi's going in B tier. Brawl assist trophies, I think, are going to have a lower accuracy average than more recent assist trophies. But this is an instance where we have to talk about those two categories, right? If you talk about what Waluigi is literally doing, is stomping you into the ground and hitting you with a tennis racket, I don't think there is any source material for that specific action. But the vibes is kind of spot on. That is exactly how he would behave, just digging his heel into you, stomping you into the dirt, complete disrespect in this really mischievous, trolly kind of way. And I like that there's a tennis racket as a nod to his debut appearance in Mario Tennis. I don't think Camelot is given enough credit for creating this character. And unfortunately, I think our only Donkey Kong assist trophy, Klaptrap, is going to end up in C tier. But what a great choice for an assist trophy Klaptrap was. I hope that assist trophy gets to keep coming back. What keeps Klaptrap out of D tier is that I think Klaptrap in Smash Bros. Feels a lot like Klaptrap in Donkey Kong Country, where he provides this sense of like, I don't want to cross the same vertical axis as that character. I do not want to be near it. It's strafing back and forth. It's very stressful. But past that, in Smash Bros., Klaptrap can like turn around if he misses you to come back for you. Doesn't really work that way in the original game. He jumps at you to attack you instead of just hitting you on contact. And he hits you via command grab, again, rather than contact. So extremely different way to actually deal damage to the end target. So does it feel like Klaptrap? Ultimately, yes it does. But what he's doing and how he's doing it is not really how it works in the original game at all. And you can't stomp him, but I don't think I'm going to hold that against Klaptrap because you can't stomp any character in Smash Bros. Now, if you want to talk about an assist trophy that just does not capture the original spirit of the character, I think Skull Kid is going to be our first D tier. The one ability that kinda has precedent to it is him turning you invisible, though in the original game he uses that for himself, not as a way to mess with others. His posing is good and very accurate, very iconic pose, but the problem is that what he does not only is mirroring just not that compelling of a mechanic for an assist trophy, and it's not really something that happens in the original game, but it completely misses the sense of dread and terror and disorientation and unnerve that comes from Skull Kid. He feels totally like tame and milquetoast in Smash Brothers. The only feeling he inspires in Smash Brothers is mild annoyance that he's the assist trophy you pull. Physically, he does look like Skull Kid, but what he's doing doesn't feel like Skull Kid. He doesn't inspire the emotions of Skull Kid. D tier is reserved for characters who I feel were misrepresented when accounting for their accuracy. The moon, I'm going to be a little more charitable about. You can't call the moon too accurate. It comes in from the side instead of the top, like the original game. It comes in way too fast and does way too little damage relative to its original game. I think this is the case where maybe you could just argue that like not every character is perfectly suited for an assist trophy. I'm glad the moon is an assist trophy. I wouldn't take it away at all. This is going back to how accurate doesn't equal good or bad. But if we're just talking about accuracy, the moon was never really going to be able to work in Smash Bros. How it does in its original game. I think it'd be a great stage hazard for a tournament stage. If I was in charge of Smash, most of, like, especially the hardcore crowd would probably think it's really stupid. I think a tournament stage where the moon just slowly falls and just kills everyone once in a while, I'd like it. Maybe I'm weird. But yeah, the moon, they did the best they could, but too fast. I do think it induces more dread than Skull Kid, so that's good. And like the red particles they get going when it comes close, that's all good. Midna is an interesting one. Midna's gonna be our first A tier where it's like, yeah, it's accurate. And only because Midna is such a dynamic character who does so much that when you have a character like that who only does one thing, it's an accurate thing, but it does feel weird that a character who has so much to offer is just doing the same thing over and over again. But yeah, grabbing with the hair hand and throwing, totally on point. And I find it a little awkward that, like, she's such an expressive character when in Smash she pretty much just holds the one pose the whole time, just a little clunky. That's more critiquing the assist trophies design in general. That's not an accuracy thing. Now Ghirahim, who I think is probably our final Zelda assist trophy, where's Ghirahim? There you are. I'm gonna stick him in the B tier. Nothing too egregious. He doesn't actually wear that red cloak in battle, I don't think. And his red knife things, in Smash Brothers, they kind of just come out like lasers that he just shoots out right away, whereas in Skyward Sword, they're more like traps or obstacles that he puts in front of him for a while before shooting out. But the style and vibe of the character, I think, is all there, and that kind of shows that a character like Midna gets to be higher with accuracy because she didn't do as much, so there's not as much to knock her on. Ghirahim tried to do a lot more, is a lot more interesting of an assist trophy as a result, but because he does so much, that also means there's more things to criticize him on from an accuracy perspective. The Metroid is so close to being great and perfect, but it might be B tier? What's great about the Metroid is that the way it hovers around totally feels like the physics of the original game, and you can take it out with ice. That's one of the coolest little assist trophy details in the game, I think, is that the way you take out a Metroid is hitting it with any ice attack. If you're playing as Ice Climbers, just hit the Metroid with a special and you're good to go. The liberty that was taken that I think has to put it down in the B tier, which is where we start to acknowledge liberties that were taken, is that the way it grips you and starts to shock you, that's just not how it works in any Metroid game. It's almost like it's convulsing the player or shocking them as it's attached to them, where in the Metroid games, it kind of just makes you slow and saps your health away. It's not this violent act. It's actually very tame. And in the Metroid games, you're still in full control of yourself, and that's how you can like turn into Morph Ball form and lay a bomb to get the Metroid off of you, stuff like that. Whereas in Smash Brothers, you're kind of paralyzed to act in a lot of ways until the Metroid chooses to detach, which doesn't really happen in a ton of Metroid games. It's so close. Maybe it's a symptom of just being a Brawl Assist trophy again, but I think B is best I can do for that. Mother Brain might be a similar case of a character that just is not a perfect fit for an assist trophy, but we're glad she's here anyway. I'm sticking her in the B tier. The fact that she grows at the start is weird. I don't think Mother Brain has ever just grown before. Similar to Klaptrap, she can turn around when I really don't think she should be able to. You can damage her through the glass, that's inaccurate. She gets the super laser, like the rainbow laser, that I don't think she ever had while in this form. But I think all of those creative choices are valid. You need her to turn so she can attack stuff. The rainbow laser is something she can do if not in this form. And the glass is, I don't know, I kind of think you should have to break the glass to hurt her, but who's not getting into B at all? We're into Kirby. Nightmare is a D tier. All he does is turn the screen dark, which by my understanding, he never turns the screen pitch black in a Kirby game until Kirby Air Riders, which I have to imagine took that ability from his assist trophy in Smash Brothers. He's not getting retroactive credit now that the Smash assist trophy has influenced his home media. The assist trophy, when it came out, completely inaccurate. I do like that he comes out in his little star ball form. That's nice. Not enough to get him out of D tier. But it's okay. Kirby's in luck because next up we have Knuckle Joe, who I'm tempted to put in S. I might stick him in A for now. All of his moves are there. When you look at like the specific like particle effects and color choices, it is a bit of a hodgepodge of all of his appearances, but that's fine. I don't mind composite appearances at all for this tier list. The one thing that keeps him out of S for me, and maybe I need to do a little more research to figure out where this comes from, I'm pretty sure I've never played a Kirby game where Knuckle Joe talks. And he talks in Smash Brothers. The voice fits him and the tone fits him, and maybe I should call that an inaccuracy because it's literally something he doesn't do, but it's aesthetic and it still feels like the character. and I'm gonna give it like a 31% chance that a Kirby fan in my comments tells me where Knuckle Joe talks like that. I don't care if the answer is the anime. If the answer is the anime or some non-video game media, I do not care. You don't have to write that comment. You probably will anyway. That's fine. I love you. Now, maybe my least favorite assist trophy to talk about in this video is going to be Chef Kawasaki. Chef Kawasaki has a lot going for him on paper, using the extendo ladle to like scoop people up so he can cook them. Few inaccuracies getting him into B tier are that in the original game, as far as I can tell, there's never a game where he does the swoop up motion, where he shoots the ladle out and swoops it up to pull you in. It's always just straight out and straight back. Totally reasonable that a game as dynamic as Smash Bros. Would need a little vertical range to him. Not a huge issue. But the bigger issue maybe is that Chef Kawasaki and Kirby pretty much always, in fact, when he's an enemy, I'm pretty sure, always pulls you in and puts you in a frying pan and just cooks you up in a frying pan a little bit. This whole boiling you like Kirby's Final Smash, I don't see any precedent for that until Kirby Star Allies, where when Chef Kawasaki is a star ally, he can, in fact, pull everyone in. I believe his teammates he actually pulls in and does essentially the Kirby Final Smash, or at least a version of it. That game came out, what, like 6 months before Smash Ultimate or something like that? So there was no way that was planned. They totally had this assist trophy designed before they knew that was going to be the case in Star Allies. I would bet a lot of money on that. But Star Allies did come out first. I'm not going to do what I did to Nightmare, because at the end of the day, I can't say for sure. Chef Kawasaki technically did do that move prior to Smash Ultimate, so it is accurate, but for the reasons we talked about already, no higher than B tier. Andross. A for Andross. A for Andross. He's doing one move from the Star Fox final boss fight where he inhales, and then if he doesn't catch you, he blows out a ton of blocks that you have to dodge. Interestingly, his red eyes in Smash Ultimate only happen, I believe, in the original game during that move. I think at all other times his eyes are flashing yellow and blue because you have to shoot them. So the fact that he does one move over and over again, which makes his eyes stay red, doesn't really fully encompass that fight. But additionally, in Star Fox, that move is a much bigger event. He inhales way more, and then he shoots out way more blocks. So the move is heavily adapted for Smash Brothers, but it's not doing anything that it doesn't do in the original game. It's just the values are adjusted a little bit. Little faster, fewer blocks, only one move, so we never have the flashing eyes. So it's not perfect on closer inspection, but I don't think you could call it inaccurate in good faith. Second Star Fox one, Krystal, was a tough one to research. I got her in the B tier because the ice attack that she does have precedent in Star Fox Adventures, and using the staff as a melee weapon, Fox does that, and there's no reason to think Krystal can't do that competently. She just doesn't. But it is her staff, so she should be able to use it just as well as Fox does in theory. But since I have never seen her use that staff in a melee combat situation, I can't put her any higher than B. But I also haven't played Star Fox Adventures. I only know what I have researched and heard from Smash fans who talk about Krystal a lot, and I haven't seen anything like that. If it exists, that is something you can let me know in the comments if I missed an instance of Krystal using her staff in Star Fox Adventures, similar to how she uses it in Smash Bros. Samurai Goroh is the definition of what C tier means to me. They are just making stuff up. This guy, as far as I know in the games, never gets out his sword and starts swinging it around wildly like a maniac. But it is in his character. The fighting style is made up, the way he swings his sword wildly is made up. At least Waluigi has held a tennis racket and swung it before. The most Goroh has done with the sword is hold it in a cutscene. It's just not anything the character does in the original game, but I fully believe he would. I love the fact that the Starman just holds its pose the whole time and teleports around with that teleport effect that's so reminiscent of the original series. Gonna go B tier for Starman. What holds it back is that he has two attacks. He has PK Beam Gamma and PK Beam Omega. I think I got that right. PK Beam Gamma he has definitely used before, which is where he just shoots out one PK Beam towards an enemy. But PK Omega in the original game hits the full group, it hits the full party, and that's represented in Smash by him shooting a bunch of beams in a ton of different directions, which is all well and good, but I am unaware of any Starman variant that actually uses PK Beam Omega. It's certainly not the base Starman like this is, but even the tons of Starman variants that are out there, I don't know of any that use that move. So I can't put him any higher than B tier, but I'm not going to put him any lower because he can use PK Beam, and it is just a lot of PK Beams. Jeff, in true Jeff fashion, this is Jeff from Earthbound, who I'm putting in the A tier, but we're going to have to get a little nerdy to talk about Jeff. In Smash Brothers, there's a lot that I like. I like that he shoots off bottle rockets, which are one of his key items in the original Earthbound game. I like that he kind of cowers behind them, because that is kind of his thing, is that he's not like a direct either physical fighter or magic fighter. He does have to rely on his tech in Earthbound to fight. He shoots off, I believe, 4 regular bottle rockets and then 1 big bottle rocket. And those are both items from the original game, regular and big bottle rockets. But I was wondering if I should put Jeff lower, because depending on how you want to look at it, in Earthbound, big bottle rockets are kind of just 5 bottle rockets launched at the same time. They're not actually one big rocket that he fires. And the way the move is calculated, the game calculates 5 bottle rockets going off. Any of them can miss, and then based on how many hit, that gives you your 1 big bottle rocket score. You just hear 1 bottle rocket go off, it gives you a damage number. So the code calculates that it's 5 rockets, but the visual representation and the damage readout of what's happening treats it as if it's 1. So I'm choosing to believe that having Jeff shoot out 1 big bottle rocket at the end is accurate to the actual lived reality of Earthbound. But if you want to argue that the calculation nature of the big bottle rocket means that Jeff should actually have that big rocket split into 5 little rockets, that's valid. I would not knock you for that. And I am so excited to see how many viewers drop off this video right at the point where I start talking about the damage calculations of bottle rockets in Earthbound. Let's try and recover by talking about our Fire Emblem assist trophies. Fire Emblem, one of my weak points. The only assist trophy that I definitely have enough experience to talk about is Tiki. It's going in the B tier. I've played 2 major games that Tiki is in. This appearance very much based on Fire Emblem Awakening. The design is absolutely going for that. From her more humanoid design to pulling out the stone she uses to transform to the way the dragon looks, all very in line with Awakening. The dragon does stay out for longer than it usually does in a Fire Emblem game. That's definitely a liberty I'm willing to let them take. The weird thing that took so much research, and I don't really know why the Smash team did this, is that she shoots out red streams of fire, like typical red-orange fire type stuff. And if you're so going for Fire Emblem Awakening Tiki, I don't know why you wouldn't give her fire that white winter green color that she uses in Awakening, but also most of her major appearances. Her fire is a very bright, cool color, which would be enough to honestly get her down into the C tier, except there are times where Tiki has shot red fire, particularly in the DS remake of the original Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. When she attacks, it is a stream of orange-red fire. So it's precedent, it's fine, it's accurate, but it takes what would be a character that is wholly based on one appearance of her and turns her into a composite character, kind of unnecessarily. This is actually a great moment to give a thank you to the wonderful people found in the Blastbox Discord server, who I reached out to for help for the Fire Emblem characters that I wasn't very expert in. If you're not part of that server, the link will be below. Would love to say hi. But generally the vibe I got when talking to these people about the Fire Emblem Assist Trophy was that they are very solid representations of the feel of the character and how their combat style is reflected in game. So Black Knight and Lyn, I have not played their source material games, but from the conversations I've had, they seem like a pretty comfortable A tier. Phosphorus from Kid Icarus Uprising, one of the most random assist trophies. How did this character get assist trophy status for any reason other than Sakurai bias? But she's going in the A tier. She's really solid. Her posing is spot on, and the variety of attacks she displays, from teleporting to these little small yellow electric shocks, the big blue electric balls, all have basis in the original game. And kind of contrary to what I said to Ghirahim, this is a case where the character is so dynamic and does so many different things that, you know, her attacks are all electric projectile based, and because she is such a robust character who does so much in Uprising combat-wise, I am willing to sort of give her some wiggle room when something doesn't line up 100%, to say, like, it's not 100%, but she does so much that, of course, it's reasonable to expect she would be able to do this as well. Whereas with, like, a retro character who only does a limited number of things, then I'd pay way more attention to how faithfully are we sticking to those few things they can do. That's in contrast to Ghirahim, who is doing something very established in his moveset and doing it in a very different way, which is why Phosphorus is going to end up one tier higher than him. Ashley from WarioWare, I don't think is going to be able to get any higher than B tier. I'm not sure how much precedent there is for all of the status effects that she has in Smash Ultimate. While the cloud status effects are pretty much invented for Smash, that cloud visual is reminiscent of her magic, and her using magic antagonistically is definitely precedented, and also her hair changing color. Considering the source material they were working with, not bad. Which brings us to one of my favorite assist trophies in the game. I was so happy when I saw this one in the original trailer. The Burrowing Snagret, I think, is a perfect assist trophy in terms of accuracy. The way it comes up out of the ground and will re-burrow to relocate is perfect, and it's scaled in a way where it still attacks with its mouth, like in the original game, but in the original game, you're a tiny little thing, so it's like it's pecking down at you to, like, scoop up Pikmin and eat them. It's not big enough to do that in the Smash universe, so it still attacks with its mouth, but just it has to jab at you, because it can't eat you the same way. So they adapted the way the creature attacks, but put it in this new context in a way that totally makes sense, totally feels in character. I don't have a single complaint with how Burrowing Snagret is represented from an accuracy perspective. And then talk about an example of inaccurate, not meaning bad. The Kapp'n assist trophy is just making stuff up. He forcefully kidnaps you in his bus and then, like, can drive away on, like, light rays and make the bus fly? Absolutely not. Would I change anything about it? No, it's so hilarious and fun and funny, but this tier list is about accuracy, so what can you do? D tier. Conversely, an assist trophy that had a lot of thought put into making it as accurate as possible. Riki from Xenoblade Chronicles. Every move he does in Smash Ultimate is directly based on an art from Xenoblade Chronicles. That attention to detail is great. They don't all work exactly how they do in the original game. They are definitely adapted for the Smash context. I think the least accurate one is probably Happy Happy, which in the original game increases party tension, but in Smash Brothers it increases launch ratio. But I think increasing your launch ratio in Smash is a great way to raise the tension while you're playing it. So I think all of them are very good adaptations that do a great job representing not only the original move in Xenoblade Chronicles, but Riki is a status character. His role in the party is usually debuffing or applying status effects. So the fact that in Smash Brothers he is a support assist trophy who doesn't attack, perfect. Color Game 15, that's the one that's Pong, essentially. Although Sakurai wouldn't want me to call it that. Because Sakurai seems so proud of this assist trophy, and the way that the paddles move accurate to the original game, Color Game 15 has to be S tier just out of respect. The paddles do in fact have a consistent speed like he boasts, and the fact that it's even based specifically on the Tennis B game due to the lack of a net, that's perfect. The only thing it's really lacking is that it creates a solid blue background, as opposed to putting the brown court in there. But when my biggest complaint about the assist trophy is not even the character itself, but the background it spawns in, that's can't be anything but S. And hey, we're kind of on a roll now. I think the Sheriff might be the single most accurate assist trophy in the whole game. I believe his original game is just called Sheriff, and just like in Smash Brothers, the camera perspective is correct, and he just waddles around and shoots in 8 directions. Extremely simple game, makes an extremely simple assist trophy implementation, and they nailed it. Shoot, and we're getting a third one in a row, the Devil. I have nothing to complain about with the Devil, from his bat form to his posing as he moves the camera, which is what he does in the original Devil World. He just hangs up there and moves the camera all around. He even pauses in between moving, just like the original game. There is nothing I can call out about this guy. But okay, here's a good counterexample of someone's retro status actually stopping me from giving them extra credit that puts them in the top tier, like I was talking about before. Takamaru is going to be an A tier assist trophy. I do think it's weird that he has such a modern design, yet his attacks are very clearly extremely basic NES attacks, but that's not an accuracy concern, so it doesn't affect his placement. His rapid slash is good. When he throws his projectiles, the plus formation is good and accurate, but he also throws them in diagonal directions in Smash Ultimate, which to my knowledge he can't do in the NES game. To my knowledge, he can only throw them in a plus configuration. And like I said, for whatever reason, when I think of retro characters, I am much more strict to what they can do than a modern character who will usually be shown to be more capable and dynamic and versatile. So Takamaru's still landing in an A tier, but that one little thing keeps him out of S tier because, yes, he almost certainly can throw them in an X pattern, but he doesn't. Dr. Wright is the guy that just builds like a skyscraper on the spot, and he straight up can't do that in SimCity as far as I know. D tier for him. The Fly Swatter from Mario Paint. We're having a lot of S tiers right now, but I just don't know what I would knock it on. Even the movement of the Fly Swatter looks like it's being controlled with like a jittering mouse. We're in a feast or famine state right now. We are up to the Prince of Sable? Sable? Not sure. That's a D tier assist trophy. In Smash Brothers, he starts in human form, but then transforms into animal form to approach and attack the player. And those cartoony dust clouds he creates to deal damage to you, that's totally accurate. That's spot on and awesome. But where it falls apart is that the human form is the one that is for attacking. The frog and snake form do have some combat capabilities kind of in the original game, but they are not for combat. You're usually not doing combat in those forms. The human form is explicitly for combat, and in Smash Brothers, they flipped that. But don't get too upset, because we're right back in the S tier with Sukapon. S for Sukapon. I genuinely kind of think that the accuracy of Sukapon is evidence of how much Sakurai wants to put this character in Smash Brothers. It feels like he has thought about Sukapon in Smash Brothers so much. The attack, the walk animation, the hurt animation, the facial expressions, it is all perfectly on point with the original Joy Mech Fight game. Let's chill out, finally get back to just another solid B tier. Isaac from Golden Sun. Everything he does is something he does in the original game. I believe they're all based on field skills he has using those giant hands to manipulate the environment. So accuracy is solid, and the liberties taken are completely reasonable. It's just all of these moves are just a little bit different, a little bit adapted for the sake of being offensive Smash Bros. Attacks. The clearest example is that in the original game, the lift spell it's very slow and gently. It's lifting heavy debris out of the way so that you can progress forward, whereas in Smash Brothers, it is like squishing someone like you're trying to catch a fly and lifting them up in the air to kill them. The Starfy assist trophy, kind of similar to Midna. It's very simple relative to what the character could do, but it's Starfy's signature spin move. He walks around the stage and he does his spin. It's a little like slow and carefree. I mean, he does walk and spin. Can't criticize it too much. And then literally try to invent an accuracy criticism of the Nintendog, who just pops up to the camera and interacts with the person the way they do in the original game. If I was to invent an accuracy criticism of the Nintendog, it would be that in the original game, typically the dog just runs up to you and just engages the POV in your face state right away. Like, it just goes from standing to there instantly, whereas the state transition in Smash Ultimate is much more apparent. The dog comes into view, analyzes you, and then enters the state, and then gets distracted by something and looks away to exit the state. But I am talking about state machines which you don't know what that is, which means just put the character in S tier and move on. Okay, will do. If you do know what a state machine is, I apologize. The Dr. Kawashima assist trophy looks fine visually, but I think the only accuracy about what it does is that numbers exist. The assist trophy in Smash Bros. Has numbers flying all over, and if they combine, they can create explosions and kill you. In the original Brain Age game that's meant to promote brain health and teach you to use your brain, the numbers don't explode and kill you. They're just math problems. And now I kinda actually want them to adapt the assist trophy in such a way that in Smash you are also just solving math problems, but I don't quite know how to do that. Similar problem to Vince from Art Academy. Are the paintings accurate? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think they leech onto people and toxically drain them of health. Nikki from Swapnote. Shout out to Swapnote, by the way. Genuinely kept in touch with some good friends over Swapnote. The drawings don't come to life and kill people. This is too much negativity. We need another great assist trophy. Dillon from Dillon's Rolling Western. That's an S tier assist trophy. Visually, he's spot on, and I love that he has a couple different roll attacks, but his default one is the one where he rushes in and then bounces back off the opponent. Super accurate to the original game. And the fact that he does like the bigger charge up and dash off the screen spin, not only is that a cool way for the assist trophy to exit, but it shows the versatility of the character in that in the original game, he does have different methods of spinning, and different spins interact with different opponents differently depending on the context of the game. Great way to represent the character. So this is gonna get us into my philosophy with this tier list a little bit in ways that I'm sure people watching will not agree with me fully. I'm gonna put Yuri from Fatal Frame in the B tier. I think the liberties they took with Yuri are understandable, in that the main inaccuracy of Yuri is that in the original game, her camera only hits ghosts. In Smash Bros., it can hit anyone. Or maybe everyone in Smash Bros. Is a ghost. But it's B tier for me and not lower, because in the original game, the camera and taking pictures is still an offensive maneuver that Yuri takes. It may sound like if I'm giving Yuri a pass for her camera being allowed to hurt people, that I should give characters like Nikki or Vince a pass for their assist trophies being able to hurt people. I think it's different, because those characters have no basis for taking any offensive action or for their tools imposing any offensive action on any other being, unlike Yuri. And you may be saying to yourself, well, shouldn't that be in the same category as like double jumping, where it's just a function of Smash Brothers? They have to do damage so they can serve as an assist trophy. Absolutely not. There are tons of support assist trophies that do not actively hurt players, like Riki as an example. And then also with Yuri, they added some extra visual effects to taking a picture to really, I think, just sell the original atmosphere of the game, which I appreciate. We've talked about some assist trophies before that I think did not do enough to sell the vibe and atmosphere of their original game. I think Yuri does a good job of that. The Arcade Rabbit. Who here actually used Nintendo Badge Arcade on the 3DS? I was actually kind of into it for a little bit. I thought it was a fun idea. But the assist trophy's going in B tier. The rabbit itself is actually really solid. The posing, the use of the button to activate the crane is all spot on. It's actually the crane machine itself that we're taking massive liberties with, if understandable liberties, in that it's so long, and it's not a contained machine. It's the button is separate and the crane's up here. You get it. Another contender for one of the most accurate assist trophies in the game, Springman, is just playing ARMS. And I love ARMS. I was putting this guy under the microscope. I was looking at animations. I was looking at specific like attack functions, like does the super move end with a big punch like that? I think the time his arms take to move and how long they hit stun the enemy is all really accurate to the original game. The one thing I could hit him on, if I really wanted to, is that he has too much wind-up time before throwing a punch. But again, like previous ones before, if startup frames are my biggest criticism, let's just put them in the S tier and move on. Move on to an assist trophy that kind of breaks my brain a little bit. The Squid Sisters. I'm gonna put in A tier. So, I never thought I would have to think about the Squid Sisters so much in my life. Their dancing seems to be perfect to me, perfectly accurate. Seems like dances they do in the original game. They're singing a song they sing in the original game. I'm good with all that. What makes it weird is that they manipulate the camera. They move the camera to zoom in on them. Now, if that is the Squid Sisters physically moving the camera to look at them, that's insanely inaccurate. They can't do that in the original game. But I kind of got the vibe that it's not them, like it's the Smash Brothers cameraman. Who's like, ooh, famous pop stars, we gotta zoom in on them and get a good shot of them. And if that's the case, then that's completely accurate to their source material. And we don't know who the camera operator of Smash Brothers is. Is it Lakitu? I kind of hope it is. I don't have answers, I only have questions, and I'm done thinking about the Squid Sisters. Be happy with your A tier. I want to find something to knock the ghosts from Pac-Man on, but I just can't do it. I think they're an S tier assist trophy. You gotta give respect to the fact that the ghosts actually follow the same rules that they do in the original Pac-Man. Every ghost is programmed to move a little bit differently. They follow those rules in Smash. They even speed up over time like they do in the original game. Let's talk about Bomberman, who is a great assist trophy, only missing out on S tier just by the nature of some of his movements, like his jump or his push, having to be adapted slightly for the fact that he's on a 2D plane. He's always on a 2D plane, which, you know, it's not an isometric plane. It's a flat 2D plane that we're looking right at. But it's not inaccurate. He does do all that stuff. It just looks and feels slightly different from the original game due to the new perspective. But the bombs he's laying, what those bombs do, his mode of movement, the physics as he moves, it's all rock solid. Another character like Sukapon, where I think his assist trophy proves that Sakurai has thought about putting this guy on the character roster before. I have seen some people call Alucard the most accurate assist trophy in Smash Ultimate. I don't agree. Putting him in the A tier. He's extremely solid. A lot of attention to detail put into Alucard from Symphony of the Night. Smash Ultimate just added so many assist trophies that feel so real. They feel like they do so much that they just could be characters on the roster. One thing that stands out to me, something I haven't gotten to criticize another assist trophy for yet, is that he's using an endgame weapon, the Krystal, with an early game cloak, his like default cloak from when he loses all of his gear. I'm not actually holding that against him as far as where I rank him. I just wanted to call it out as like weird. If I was making him, I would probably give him like the Twilight cloak. What does actually get him in the A tier is that his mist dodge is close to the original game, but it moves way too fast. It's not really a dodge in the original game. It's a movement technique for traversing terrain, not a dodge for combat. But that's okay. It still looks correct and moves correct despite its speed. And the fact that he floats instead of walking. There's a lot of times where Sakurai chooses to make characters float instead of walk, when I guess they technically can, but that's not how Alucard typically moves in any appearance that I know of. But he is capable of floating, so I won't not put it against him too hard. Solid A tier. Sorry if I'm being mean to Alucard. Wily we're going to put down in the B tier, which is a shame because so much of this assist trophy is so great and so specifically accurate to one of the best Wily encounters, if you ask me, which is Mega Man 7. The one thing that, what I'm going to call an understandable liberty, although I'm not even sure I necessarily understand it, is that he gets this ram attack, which I'm kind of cool with because, like in Mega Man, he does do contact damage, so you could call it a reference to the contact damage, but they did just invent a move for Smash Ultimate that I don't feel like they needed to invent. But as for giving him his flowers, the projectiles he spawns are great, and the way they like shoot out and then move in at you is wonderful. And he has like the cloak, the blanket that he like pulls up to reveal himself. That's really good. I'm really glad they chose this Wily to be the assist trophy. And of course the grovel at the end, as everyone knows, super iconic Wily stuff. I got nothing to say about Zero. That's an S tier. There's a lot you could say about Zero because that assist trophy does a lot, but I've only played the first Mega Man X game and then Marvel vs. Capcom, and just those two bits of understanding for the character already tells me that he is doing things that he does. Like, that's a character who's doing moves that you can call out by name, and his movement options are straight up classic movement options from Mega Man X. And then complete opposite end of the spectrum, an assist trophy that I was so excited to see, and I do think is a good, fun assist trophy that I'm happy to see in battle. It's just not accurate at all. I'm putting Knuckles in the D tier. Like, his digging and coming up from the ground is fine, his 3-hit combo he does is fine. What I can't square about Knuckles is why did they give him a homing attack? Like, Knuckles' thing since day one is that he glides and climbs up walls. And to my knowledge, he doesn't do that in Smash Bros. Instead, he does this homing attack where he doesn't have a homing attack in any major appearance in any mainline Sonic game I know of. And I'm sure there's some, like, spin-off or handheld game where he does have a homing attack. Someone probably wants to type that right now. It's okay, it's fine. We already think you're super smart and have all the correct opinions about Sonic, but you can give me engagement anyway if you want. And that's egregious enough to me that I do call that character misrepresentation. Knuckles hitting that D tier. Unfortunately, Shadow is not that much better. If we go by those two metrics I talked about at the beginning of the video, Shadow is technically winning the things he literally does category. He uses Chaos Control, he uses the Emerald that he uses in Sonic Adventure 2, and at first he slows time and then he stops time. And he has done both. Chaos Control has both slowed time and stopped time. So that's all fine. But what's totally missing for me is the vibe of the character. And I mean, like, literally how he's activating Chaos Control. And the fact that, like, he looks like he's struggling and he's, like, charging it up and he really has to, like, push it out. Chaos Control is just something he does pretty freely and easily all the time. And he uses Chaos Control while actively in combat doing other things. Chaos Control is a very easy thing for him to just pop on. This, like, stand in the background as a support while he does this, like, massive Chaos Control. That's not how it feels in the original game at all. Definitely a victim of being a Brawl Assist trophy. Does not feel like the character to me, but not technically misrepresented, so he's above Knuckles. If anyone competes with Sheriff for the most accurate assist trophy in the game, it is Guile. If you're unaware, in Smash Ultimate, Guile just, like, crouches down and will throw a Sonic Boom, or if you get close to him, he'll do a Flash Kick. And in Street Fighter, where he comes from, you have to charge those commands by usually crouching down before sending out the command input to activate those moves. So this is the only assist trophy in the entire game where he's not only mimicking what he does in his source material, but also how players control him. Because that's what Guile players do. They just crouch down and they charge and they wait for you to move, and they'll just react accordingly based on what you do. It's not just a Guile assist trophy, it is a noob Guile assist trophy. The only thing I would have done if I could be greedy about it is, like, I would give him, like, a 25% chance to accidentally miss input, where, like, instead of Flash Kick, he'll do a jumping HK, or instead of Sonic Boom, he'll do a standing HP. I think that'd be very funny, and, like, have his legs, like, shuffle a little bit as if he did move a bit before going back down to crouching. I'm just fanboying out. One of the best assist trophies in the game, easily. Another one of the best assist trophies in the game, we know Sakurai loves his fighting games. The Akira assist trophy, like what I said about Riki, every move is a real move. The animation is spot on. Of course, the visual design, everyone knows that is such a love letter to classic Virtua Fighter. No notes at all. I do have some notes on Gray Fox, who really is hovering between the B tier and C tier for me. I'm gonna go C tier, that's kind of what I'm feeling, and the C tier needs a little more love. It's our weakest tier so far. Everything Gray Fox does, I do believe he can do, but he doesn't in Metal Gear Solid. That is not how he fights in that game. This extremely quick swiping of the sword is just not how he handles it. He does have a lot of really fast movements and really, like, jerky, violent movements in that game, so it's not that it's completely out of the realm of possibility for him. That's why he's not a D tier. But when he fights in that game, his sword maneuvers are way more typical than that. And he also doesn't use his sword all the time, for what that's worth. I almost feel like Gray Fox is a representation of just the cyborg ninja archetype in Metal Gear Solid, and to that effect, I think he does a decent job, especially for a Brawl Assist trophy. This was a very exciting character to get if you got him in Brawl. Rathalos kind of gives me Phosphorus vibes, where such a intricate character that can do so much, where I was actually surprised when researching Monster Hunter how close a lot of the attacks were to the original game. A lot of them aren't exact one-to-one, and there is some adaptation, and there has to be adaptation. Monster Hunter is so different from Smash Bros. Ultimate, but I was really surprised by how close that character was, from the fireballs to attacking both gliding and on the ground to the poison claw. It's really good. I always want to call him Rodin, but then in the Smash presentation they called him Rodon, and I don't have memory of someone saying his name in the Bayonetta games I've played, but Rodine, R-O-D-I-N, is absolutely an S tier. It's so, everything he does straight up pulled from something he does, and particularly, I believe, Bayonetta 2. The only thing I was thinking I was going to knock him on is that I thought it might be out of character for him to just give away a free weapon at the end, but there is precedent for it. He gives Bayonetta free weapons at the beginning of Bayonetta 1, so I can't even knock him for that. Great attention to detail on this one. Oh, and we're rounding it out with my boy, Shovel Knight, who is going to be a bit of an anticlimax. I think Shovel Knight's going to end up in the C tier. It's just hard to get around that he straight up does an invented attack that he didn't need, where he kicks up rocks from his digging. And additionally, his spawning of items doesn't completely line up with how you dig up items in the original game. Maybe I'm being mean. He could be B, but I think the fact that these discrepancies are so unnecessary and not needed is what keeps him down there for me. That and his physics don't super line up. I don't know, maybe I'm being too critical because I love this character so much. When we look at the big picture and not just judge it on accuracy, this is a fantastic assist trophy overall. Would really love for it to be a recurring one. I did not think I'd be walking away with the S tier being the most populous tier on this list, but hey, that just means they're doing a good job, right? I thought I was being picky, I thought I was being mean more often than I was being nice, but I'm okay with this spread overall. I'm happy that we're a little top heavy on this list because I think generally Smash Brothers does a great job designing stuff. Obviously, or it wouldn't be here. And I really liked the chance to give the assist trophies some flowers. We don't get to talk about the assist trophies as often. There's tons of great characters in here, so thanks for being along for this ride with me, and we'll talk about Smash again soon.